Glenn Loury here. This is the Glenn Show. Glenn and John, we're the black guys at bloggingheads.tv. Well, the election approaches, and we should probably talk about that, but I want to say something about blacks and the cops first. And this is difficult to say, actually, because I've been possessed by an idea of late. And the idea is that the ability to maintain universal standards that would apply to everybody is to some degree sensitive to and dependent upon the extent to which black people meet those standards. Okay, think about affirmative action in higher education. The ability to, for example, rely upon a test score that has a test regimen that has a discriminatory incidence that black people don't do so well on the test will undermine the legitimacy of the test. Because the question will be put, either there's something wrong with black people or there's something wrong with the test. If we fall short of the standard, to some degree it undermines the legitimacy of the standard itself. Because the question gets posed, why aren't we measuring up? To which the answer could either be the standard is illegitimate or there's something wrong with us. This is when I say bluff, I say these some of these anti-racists, when they don't want to talk about the pathology and the failures and the lack of performance and the deviance and the tragic loss of the development of human potential reflected in some of the deficits of African-American social performance. They refuse to talk about that. They ascribe it to something called systemic racism and they chalk it up to white supremacy. What they're doing is they're daring you to say, no, it's because the blacks have failed. And to say that is said to be racist. And if the blacks haven't failed, then evidently the fact that they are disproportionately at the bottom or not included or overrepresented amongst those being punished or whatever must mean that the system itself is illegitimate. Now, that's an argument, we can have it. But the stakes are not just about the blacks, the stakes are about everybody. So if you have law and order being put up against justice and racial reconciliation, you get to choose. Which one do you want? You want law and order, or do you want to be on the right side of the racial anti-racism? I'm talking about blacks and the cops. This was the subject that you had introduced. This is what prompted me to go down this line. The fact is, the vast disproportionately overrepresentation of blacks amongst lawbreakers. The fact is, half the homicides in the country are committed by black people. We're an 10th or an 8th of the population. The fact is, almost every single one of these viral national incidents has got a dark underside to it. Okay? We're not supposed to point out that somebody is a thug, okay? Pretend I didn't say that word, and no, I'm not trying to point it out, but I'm just saying, man, I'm just saying. Look at the rap sheets, look at the biographies, look at every one of the circumstances, there's a resistance or some kind of behavioral deviance amongst the person who's encountering the cop.
Almost always, yeah.
You know, the narrative that the cop is white and therefore it's systemic racism is complete BS, man, as a scientific or social scientific narrative. I mean, yeah, it might be racism, or it might be a whole lot of other things, a lot of other things. What I think is happening now is that it shows the danger of a certain kind of unraveling. People walk into high-end stores having thrown a brick through the window and they walk out with their arms full of boxes. And serious people in serious newspapers will write, well, you know, there's a case for looting. You know, the representatives of radical organizations will say, well, they're simply getting their reparation. They're simply feeding themselves or whatever. And then cafe clutch liberals will pat them on the head and will come up with all kinds of rationalizations. And this is a debasing of the currency. This is an inability to say what is right and what is wrong. And what I'm saying is the fact that these riots are racially integrated with a lot of white people participating in it has been put out as a indication of the universality of the uprising or whatnot. No, it's an indication of the universality of defining deviancy down, of the universality of the suspension of any duty to comply with the restraints and requirements of civil society.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a bluff. The people who are smiling at you while this is going on are lying. They don't really believe in it. They're afraid. They're cowering. They're craven. But I don't think it holds, and I think it invites reaction. And this was the point of Andrew Sullivan's column. I don't know if you saw it recently, which is, man, if you allow this kind of, in the name of racial justice, disorder and violence and civil unrest to proliferate, you're going to elect Donald Trump, A, and B, you're going to call forth a vicious reaction. And to some degree, the reaction will be justified. No, not the extreme white racist supremacist, whatever. No, not the vigilantism, but the sense of contempt that I think has to be bred in many people when they see respect for the basic notions of decency given short shrift. You know,